All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is 3 o'clock, Thursday, January 9th. I'd like to go ahead and call the Housing and Economic Development Committee to order. We have all 5 members present here in chambers. We also have a few other legislators joining us. So again, invitation to all the other legislators at any point. If you want to join around the table, you're more than welcome to. We have a relatively robust agenda. So apologies in advance if I try to keep us moving along, but I think everybody would like to be done within that 2-hour time frame. I see a blue card getting filled out at the moment. So I'll go ahead and do my changes to the agenda, and then we'll go back to public comment. On changes of the agenda, there's a discussion with St. John's Community Services, and that will be moved to the end of the agenda, and in accordance with the Public Officers Law, which I'll read prior to that, I will ask that we go into an executive session for that conversation. Other than that, also not on the agenda is appointments to the Industrial Development Agency and Tompkins County Development Corporation Board of Directors. This is for everybody on your seats or at your place. And I will add that we'll do that under Chair's report if there's no objection. Okay, seeing no objection, we do have a public comment from Amanda Kirschkessner. Amanda, you've been here before and understand the rules of the legislature as it relates to the privilege of the floor. So I'll turn it over to you for your 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, I put down COC, but it also makes sense to talk about code blue and sheltering. It's something I've learned quite a lot about lately. One thing I've noticed is largely missing as I navigate resources are community navigators, people who actually help people navigate the resources that exist. Everybody's like, call 211, but sometimes if you have barriers, like actually getting to places, transportation's a huge issue. The elusive bus pass that I hear stories about, but never seems to materialize. These things, having navigators who actually know where these resources are and how to help people who absolutely need them connect with them is essential. So yeah, little help locating that. People who do life skills coaching, I notice a lot of enabling happening out there in the field. People will do paperwork for people, but if people aren't learning how to do their own paperwork or make their own appointments, like we're not really helping people. We're just creating more people who need more from people who do, and it gets a little tiresome. Regarding the shelter, one thing I've noticed, the shelter downtown is a bad idea. Why? IPD is very busy, and adding certainly a single shelter where you're putting people who often have active drug use disorders, alcoholism, in housing, even temporary, with people who are trying to keep with either court-mandated programs. Maybe they're just vulnerable people who wind up unhoused. It's a nightmare. And what I'm noticing is people who have active drug use disorders are often preying upon the resources of people who might have mental health issues. And we need to figure out how to have more than one shelter solution. 15 years ago or so, there used to be 4 shelters, 3 run by Red Cross, 1 run by EOC. The idea was they had one specifically for women and children, right? Which is typically a more vulnerable population. They had sheltering available for people who had drug and alcohol use dependency related issues. There needs to be, one solution's not gonna do it. And putting it near the jungle where a lot of active drug use is happening is a really bad idea. I'm gonna have a strong opinion on that one. I would recommend putting it outside of the city limits where, as much as I don't wanna saddle the Sheriff's Department with more work, the Sheriff's Department would likely become the lead agency. Perhaps it could be close to the city limits and IPD could help maintain order. But the thing is, as much as I don't want to see law enforcement at the shelter, it is happening. And if you're looking for a one-size-fits-all solution, you need to be prepared to have vigilant and present law enforcement response because it's going to happen. There's a lot of fighting that seems to be happening between individuals who are housed in this temporary situation. So it's going to be an expense on somebody's part. And I don't think putting it all on IPD is fair because most of the people I'm meeting who are homeless aren't necessarily from the city of Ithaca. They just wind up directed into the city because that's where the sheltering is. But you probably would want to put it near active bus routes. So maybe near Cornell, maybe near Pyramid Mall might make a good possibility. And trust me, there are lots of people who work within the shelter. There's lots of guests of the shelter. There are lots of people who have great ideas for how this could be done a little more effectively. But you need to start separating the populations of folks being housed in one shelter. It's not tenable. We're probably about at the 3-minute mark. I really appreciate your time this afternoon. And yeah, keep showing up. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate your engagement with the committee. Next, we have minutes approval from the December 4th meeting. If I could have somebody move that, please. Moved by Veronica, seconded by Annie. Are there any changes or edits to those minutes as presented? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. County Administrator's reports. Corsa, welcome to HED. Some may say the best committee. You'll hear that probably in every committee for the first time that you go. But we're glad to have you and look forward to working with you as time moves on.
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here. We don't have a new report today, and I'm here to learn the process, understand how things are done, and I look forward to it. So thank you for the welcome.
Great. All right. Well, I'm sure that in the months to come, you'll have robust things to report, but a lot of learning in this first couple of days, I'm sure. Okay, so next we have an update. I see Liddy Barger is on the screen. Hi, Liddy. Happy New Year. If you have any update from the Continuum of Care, I know we have talked about moving forward in 2025, having some dedicated space on our agenda for the Continuum of Care. And just, this time, this, few minutes here is yours to use how you like.
Great. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Liddy Barger. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Director of Housing Initiatives at Human Services Coalition, and I coordinate the Continuum of Care. I only have really 2.5 very quick updates for today. Update number 1 is obviously we are starting 2025 and the Continuum of Care governance nominating committee is in a nominating period. If people are part of our Continuum of Care and interested in a governance seat, I can send out some information about how they can self-nominate. If people are interested in nominating other folks. COC governance is a great place to have a seat at the table around things like resource allocation, setting priorities for permanent supportive housing and other initiatives, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to put a little plug in there for COC and governance generally, if you're interested. And if people want to learn more about what is the Continuum of Care, our next meeting in March is going to be sort of a COC 101 refresh for folks so they can learn what the COC is tasked with, how we implement those things, and what we're looking to do going forward. So we're starting again, new year. It's a good time to join in with activities. Here at HSC, we're gearing up for the 1115 waiver, which does include some housing activities. And so my work with the COC is going to be a great way for me to be communicating that information out. And as we're learning more, I'm going to be bringing some of that 1115 Medicaid housing waiver information to this space and other spaces where I'm going. It's a huge change that we're all learning together. And then the last sort of update that I have from the Continuum of Care is that we are gearing up for our annual point in time count. For folks that don't know, a point in time count is a HUD mandated activity. Every single community in the United States is asked to basically go out and enumerate the number of people who are experiencing homelessness on a specific date within the last 10 days of January. So we do this. And what we're looking for, we are basically looking to count the number of people who are experiencing homelessness in our shelter system, sleeping outdoors in a place not meant for human habitation. And then we take a look at who's in our transitional permanent supportive housing projects at this time. Historically, or through the years, there have been a lot of ways that the point in time count has been administered. As our community has gotten significantly better at real-time data, we have sort of disinvested in this older model of kind of like running around in the middle of the night and looking for folks, because we have a better touch on our real-time data. But some ways that you'll probably be hearing about it in the community are there will be lots of service providers will have surveys that folks can fill out just to make sure that we're capturing people in some of our more rural locations, places like libraries, or less thought about areas where people experiencing homelessness might be engaging with services. So look forward to hearing about information about that. It's going to be the week of the 23rd. The unsheltered count, which is going to be performed by some of our street outreach partners, is going to happen on January 29th. So those are our updates. If people are interested, I did just quickly look at some of the past 3 years of point in time count numbers before I joined today. So 2023 was our highest number ever at 273 people experiencing homelessness on the night of our point in time count in 2023. 2022 was much lower with 152. And then last year's point in time count, we counted 210 people in the population of people experiencing either unsheltered or sheltered homelessness. So I just wanted to give a little context for what those numbers look like. They all get sent to Congress. Congress makes a big report called the Annual Homeless Assessment Report, and that report is part of how they allocate funding for the homeless response system. So those are my updates from Continuum of Care. Always happy to talk about this stuff if you want to reach out.
Great questions or comments for Liddy? Liddy, I guess I would have one. If you could share the Continuum of Care governance nominating information, maybe with members of this committee, that
Sure.
we can share out with the rest of the legislature. And then if you have a date for that May meeting with the 101 of Continuum of Care, if you could share that as well, so we could help get that word out if folks are interested.
Yep, I will do both of those things.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for being here, Lydia. And as always, if there's another topic or anything, feel free to jump in and engage in the conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you. Before we move to Kit Kephart, our Commissioner of DSS, I made a mistake to my change in the agenda and brushed over a chair's report in my excitement to get down to business. So we do have the resolution for appointments to the Industrial Development Agency and Tompkins County Development Corporation Board of Directors, resolution number ID 13027. If I could have somebody move that, please. Moved by Travis and a second by Annie. If I may for a moment, this leaves the 3 members of the legislature, which are chair's appointments, currently blank. Those will be filled in prior to the next legislature meeting. Once the chair of the legislature has had a chance to meet with all members of the legislature, those appointments will be made and recommended as part of this agenda. But what our responsibility is as a committee is to appoint the at-large members, and there are 2 different buckets. There's one set of 2 individuals for a 1-year term, and then 2 individuals for a 2-year term. That was at the request of the IDA to make sure that there's staggered terms going forward. So that's the plan. If anybody has any questions or has specific comments about a named individual, we would have to move into executive session. So are there any comments to the agenda, or to this resolution? Right.
I guess this is about the names on the page, but I'm going to ask in a way that doesn't go into executive session. Just one of the people listed is not currently a member. Is that true? And was replaced with someone else recently?
That is correct.
So is this these are the correct names?
No, that is a
Okay.
good
I was
catch.
just going to say that, yeah.
So I guess I would move to amend John Guttridge as a member at large and replace that name with Jerry Dietz. That's what has been, so.
That's friendly.
Is that friendly to the mover and seconder? Is there anyone that doesn't find that friendly? Okay, so then under Jeff Gorski, John Guttridge is removed and Jerry Dietz is put in his place. Good catch, Veronica, thank you. Any, Dan?
I think it's inferred, but just to also say, you leaving the members of the, that are legislature blank for now, for the chair and vice chair to appoint also the chair of the committee.
Yes.
It was left blank too.
Yeah, also the chair of the IDA is left blank as well, that's correct. And those, the reason why we're proposing it this way is because really it's a chair's appointment with confirmation essentially by the entire legislature. The committee really is focused on the at-large members for the most part.
And one more question.
Go ahead, Ann.
So will the terms for the legislators be enumerated later, or do they
My understanding is the term of the legislators is they serve at the,
serve until they're,
until they're replaced or, asked, whatever the case may be.
okay, so it's probably in the bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of this resolution? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And now we'll get back to the regular order. Kit, I see that you're on there. Welcome. Happy New Year.
Hi, Greg. Thank you to you as well. Thank you. So I think, Greg, you were looking for some update on Code Blue Shelter specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, just a general update on, where we are with things as it relates to Code Blue and our unhoused population.
Sure, absolutely. So overall, between the dates, so I don't have up-to-date information. Always, we have to work with the data collection as it comes in. But between the dates of November 26th and December 22nd, we had a total of 186 people in shelter, during that period. We had, as far as our Code Blue shelter specifically, we have at this point had 59 unduplicated people who have stayed at the Code Blue shelter at some point. Our daily numbers are running in the range of 30 to 32 people per night right now. And between the dates of November 26th and December 31st in Code Blue, we actually had 71 people that were intermittently staying there. So again, that's not an unduplicated number. That may be people that actually are also staying in other locations that come to the Code Blue shelter, but it's 59 that are unduplicated. And a little bit of a breakdown in terms of the Code Blue numbers. We've had 50 men and 14 women that have stayed at the shelter. We are seeing higher rates of self-reported disabilities than we've seen in the past. We've got about 35 people that are reporting various disabilities. And we are, as people are aware, we're currently in the process of looking at getting some new shelter sites up and running so that we'll be able to move some families in hopefully later this month and begin to develop future opportunities, places where people can be sheltered. So we're really grateful, very grateful for all of our continued support through our hotel partners, our staff, and all the work of the DSS staff that are working hard to keep everybody sheltered. So.
Great, thanks for the update, Kit. Unfortunately, this is a place where you don't want to seem busy, right? But it seems like it has been a busy few weeks for you all, so appreciate the efforts. I guess I would open it up to members of the committee. Ann?
Thanks for the update, Kit, and all your work on this. Just wondering if there's any updates to help people access showers.
So we have done a lot of work on that, and to try to figure out what we might be able to do. It is a bit more complicated issue than I wish that it was. We've had a couple of community partners that we have explored possibilities with. I know there was discussion of the YMCA. There's some challenges there. They have to screen people when they open their facility, and they can't allow people that might have certain risk factors to come in and utilize their services. We have another potential community partner that has spoken up and had some conversation with us about potential, but we have not gotten confirmation that that is either going to be a possibility at all, or it is definitely not a possibility right now. And we are continuing to explore looking at what we might be able to do in terms of a shower facility, kind of like the rental truck like we have with the toilet truck. It is a complicated issue. Those trucks are such that they would not be able to be secured up to the building the way that the toilet truck is. And I know that facilities has taken a look at it. There's some pretty significant work to run water lines. And then there are some issues around security and safety that would need to be managed and likely would require additional staffing. So there's a lot to look at there. We are trying to figure out, we're hopeful that we might actually have, like I said, a community partner that comes through and that might provide an outlet here, but we are continuing to look at all possibilities and see what we might be able to do. And I just want to say, because we're in a public meeting, if other community partners have any sort of resources around this, we would welcome a conversation about that, because this is really an area that there's just no complete ideal solution that is perfect. And so even if we had somebody come forward saying there are different possibilities, we would work with that to the best of our ability. So.
Thank you.
Or,
Any other questions for Kit? All right, Kit, Mike?
Is there a reason that the showers have to be attached to the building? I guess that's the part I'm not really understanding.
Only close to the.
I mean,
So-
we could put them kind of anywhere, really, and
The issue might becomes, so no, they don't have to be up against the building. The issue becomes how to create a safe situation. Many of the shower, probably more information than any of us want to know about shower trucks, but the issue becomes that most of the shower trucks have doors all the way around. It can be a bit of a challenge in the city to secure those doors, and then to make sure that when people are utilizing them, that we have a way to be able to let people in, for them to be secure in there, to be able to monitor that if somebody, there is with this population a risk of people getting sick, overdosing, all of those kinds of risks. And so, figuring out a way to manage if people need help and how we can access that help. And if it's not attached to the building, there's not a way to potentially be monitoring and hearing people. So there's a lot of things to kind of, to be able to work out in terms of all of those issues. We are talking about it and trying to figure out what's possible.
thanks.
Yeah.
Great, well, I appreciate it, Kit. As always, thanks for the update, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
Can I have one more question,
Mike's
Kit?
got Kit, just kidding.
she's
Mike's
already
got
got
another one.
it.
He likes to slide right in
one
there.
So when you were talking about the Code Blue shelter, we get in about 15 men, 14 women. Someone had brought up, we need a variety of different housing situations for different people, like one for women, one for men, one for people with family. But I think we already kind of do that, do we not? I mean, we send people to hotels who may not fit the profile. Can you kind of just touch on that a little bit?
Sure. So yes, I mean, the Code Blue shelter is only an adult shelter. OTDA regulates very closely that family shelters and single individuals need to be separate, or there need to be specific, there are different staffing ratios, there are different safety components that have to be monitored very closely, and OTDA actually has to provide, if you want to have single individuals as well as families with children on a site together, you actually have to meet a bunch of requirements and then seek a waiver. So we are managing the population, the various populations of people, like you said, by utilizing hotels and other sites, as well as our Code Blue shelter for single individuals. As people know, it can be quite challenging these days because there are a number of different challenges, and sometimes people are not accepted by various locations. So it becomes sometimes very challenging to find places when all of the available places won't take a family or people. We also have increasingly, we have people with developmental disabilities and various other disabilities. We have elderly people, using walkers and are either physically or other ways struggling. And so there are requirements around trying to maintain the safety of a site for all of those populations, and having to kind of manage an environment that allows each of those people to remain safe and get their needs met.
Thanks, Kat.
Travis, I think there's one more question.
What is a question and a statement? To the showers, there is a community agency who's been working for several weeks with the county administrators and DSS. The holdup is that their showers are being renovated. As soon as the renovation of the showers are done, which is behind schedule, they were hoping to have done the beginning of this week, those showers will be made available to folks from the shelter. So that's already, it's just a matter of waiting for the work to get done, and that will happen. That is a relationship that has been built, and they're ready to go. The question that I had, Kit, is 50 men, 14 women per night? Is that the average stay at the downtown Code Blue?
No, the average stay, Travis, so first, that's great news about the showers. That's fantastic, and we're excited about that. The average nightly stay right now is somewhere in the range of 30 to 32. We've seen it creep up a little bit higher. So that's kind of the average. The number, the 50 men and 14 women, those are the numbers broken down by gender that stayed at the shelter between November 26th and December 31st.
Thank you.
Great. All right, I appreciate it, Kit. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day. I am going to make, and if there's no objection, a slight move, which I think would make more sense, to move our friends from the Downtown Ithaca Alliance down maybe just before the conference center to kind of lump some downtown things together. So I'll ask our Planning and Sustainability Department if they'd like to come forward. But first, we have a report discussion from the Commissioner of Planning and Sustainability. That's ID 12997.
Great. Thanks. Hi. Happy New Year, everyone. Nice to see people. I have a few items to update you on. With Joan Jerkowicz, a long-term staff member in my department, she'll be retiring in mid-February. We're going to start advertising to fill her reimagined position. It's similar to kind of our chief's model that we've been doing with a chief and then a staff person working closely with them. We'll be focusing around housing and community development. The new position is going to be called Planning Administrator, Housing and Community Development Director. And they'll be charged with supervising Housing and Community Development Planner, Shauna, and really focused on work around housing and community development, which are so important in the community. So we're really excited to get that going. We left Planning Administrator in there because they're also going to need to help us out with a lot of the grant and contract compliance and administration issues that the currently Joan does so much of and so well. So we're going to be advertising that hopefully pretty soon and try to get somebody on board this spring. Also wanted to let you know that our Southern Tier 8 Regional Board has secured funding to do a regional housing study. They're going to be hiring a consultant to do that work, and it's looking likely that probably Megan and I, in some tag team capacity, may be playing a leadership role in that work. It's looking promising since it's envisioned to be both a regional needs assessment, evaluation of how to best scale successful programs in the region, how to build regional capacity, and also what I think is really important is like at least a framework for developing an actual program to bring money into the region to invest in housing. So that's an exciting development. And the last thing I saw when I read the legislature minutes that Dan Klein already shared this information, but the town of Danby was successful in getting an award of almost $700,000 from the Office of Homes and Community Renewal for homeowner housing rehabilitation. So that's very exciting. And I just wanted to share, because I thought you all would appreciate it, the kind words from Greg Hutnick, the town of Danby planner. And he wrote, this award would not have been possible without the $8,000 that Tompkins County provided to the town through the Housing Affordability and Infrastructure Support Grant to hire TOMA development consultants to write the CDBG grant application. Putting that seed money into perspective, for every $1 the county spent, the town will receive $87 for critical improvements to the homes of some of Danby's most vulnerable residents. To say that the town is grateful to the county would be an understatement. In these uncertain and often dark and chaotic times, Tompkins County continues to be a light of hope and progress for its residents, delivering real, tangible solutions. So, just wanted to make sure that you all knew that since it's your program, so thank you.
Thank you. You guys probably do the hard work of administering that, so it's really your program too. So thank you for sharing that, and again, thanks for the effort the staff does. I mean, this is a great example of how leveraging a little bit of local money can pay dividends, when used properly. So next time we're debating about local grant programs, please pull that quote out.
It's a good one. I mean, he wrote a nice note. That was very kind of him.
Yeah, that was great. Questions for Katie on her report before we move into their other items? Ann?
Yeah, I just had one question. For the reimagined position, you said community development. Can you just give me a little blurb on what do you envision as the community development versus housing?
Well, it's kind of the placemaking around housing. It's looking at infrastructure. It's looking at some economic development would be in there, land use. I would hope, it depends what skills we get with this person, but it'd be great to have someone fill some of Joan's role she's been playing around zoning interpretations and land use law, that type of thing.
Thank you. And can I just add one comment? Please. I just want to say I know this program and other ones that you administer, or for the for helping with housing issues, with the, what do you call that program? For
Community Housing Development Fund?
Community Housing Development Fund. No,
or CDBG, Community
No,
Development
the one you were
Fund.
just talking about. That
Housing Affordability and Supportive Infrastructure Grant.
Yeah, that one I don't have down
You didn't
yet.
remember that?
That one, but that just brings up, because you were mentioning other ones. So all of these programs, you know it, but I just want to say, really help connect to the municipalities and to the community, because we don't have land use, but we have overall goals and overall snapshots of things. So thank you. I know this helps the community and helps keep relationships, really strong with the municipalities. And I hear a lot of great things back from my municipalities with all these programs and the education that's involved. And then the assistance that's involved, whether it's monetarily or staffing and advice. So thank you. It really makes a big difference.
Thank you.
Great. I think next on the agenda, we have the New York State County Infrastructure Grant Program, and it's a reporter discussion, so I'll turn it over to you, Megan.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, so that was a nice tee up about leveraging outside dollars, getting them back in the community. So this is a new opportunity New York State has rolled out through Empire State Development. And so all of the counties outside of downstate are eligible to apply. It's kind of first come, first serve, $50 million. A county can submit one infrastructure project for up to $1 million, with the caveat that they have opened it to, you can do housing, you can do economic development, placemaking, and tourism. But if your project is not supporting the creation of at least 10 new housing units, you can only apply for $500,000. If you're supporting creation of new housing, that's $1 million. So there are some other important caveats, including a 50% match. And so if you're applying for $1 million, it's a 50% match. That means you really need a $2 million project cost, of which the applicant is providing $1 million. And there is also an administrative fee of 1% to Empire State Development. So this infrastructure, obviously, a $2 million infrastructure project is not necessarily that big, but it can be privately owned. The county does not need to own the project now or in the future, nor does a municipality. So we have to be the applicant if we want to pursue this funding, but we are able to basically, they call it sub-grant, to another entity, whether that be a municipality, a public water or sewer purveyor, or even a private developer that has some infrastructure needs to go alongside housing development. So I'm here today for two pieces, to outline a process that we've come up to try to, kind of get to some top ideas to consider the county submitting, and also to ask you for a few key decision points, because although the deadline, we can apply up to April 1st, it is first come, first served. There's $50 million available, and we would like to not be the last in the door, depending on how much of that we're trying to apply for.
Sorry, Megan, did you say it was a 1-to-1 match?
Yes.
Right, so local share needs to equal either 500 or up to 500 or up to 1 million.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in terms of process, we do have concerns about equity and making sure that we know there are many things we don't know. And so my game plan after our conversation today, if we've settled some key decision points, would be to immediately tonight begin outreach, focusing on reaching out to developers whose contacts we've got, municipal partners, so that includes chief electeds, clerks, DPW contacts who often serve as the municipality's representative to the water and sewer purveyors, themselves, our municipal planners, economic development folks, all of those people do a bit of outreach, and we've got, get our website up with information, and essentially have kind of a county vetting process, a solicitation for expressions of interest, to make this very simple to get any ideas that are ready for this opportunity, to give them a one-page, quick and easy FAQ in a very short form to solicit the ideas. And then have initial review with a team made up of Katie and myself, along with Norma Jane, Jay Franklin, and Heather McDaniel from IAED. And then we will do that very quickly and turn it around, given dates and your meeting schedule, because we're hoping to bring the top recommendation to your February 5th meeting. And then, if possible, that's our hope.
Look at you guys in the new year.
Yeah.
This is great.
It is not a slow 2025, for sure. So that is our ideal. There is a possibility that we may need to request a special meeting in February if this does not all completely go to plan. And then with that, if we've got your agreement, we would then begin the process with Empire State Development, to share our letter of interest to them to make sure the project meets their criteria. Because I will say this is a program that is very much being built in flight. So a lot of tangible information is a little blurry right now. And so that would give us hopefully enough of lead time to get an application in well before that April 1st deadline. So that would be the process part if there any thoughts or objections, I'm open to that. But I do have a couple key decision points for you too.
Mike Sigler has a question, and I also have a quick follow-up question. Mike?
So just two questions. So this may not be the route we go, but to maximize this, then optimally, we would find somebody who has a $2 million project. They're going to kick in $1 million. They get $1 million, and it has 10 units of housing in it. Okay. And number two question is, clearly that then it can be for a for-profit entity. It doesn't have to be. Okay, that's unusual too. All right, thanks.
Katie?
One thing I think maybe wasn't emphasized was that it also needs to be almost shovel-ready. It has to be ready for construction within a year, completion in 2 years of award. So it's pretty limiting. And I also will say that NISAC is hopeful that they will have this program again next year and kind of create it into more of a annual type of program. And NISAC is pushing for it to be doubled for $100 million next year as well, because they do see a lot of opportunity to get some stuff done here.
It's too bad they couldn't just find 12 million and just send $1 million to each county for this purpose and not have all these headaches to jump through.
They have said the exact same thing.
Yeah,
Or 62 million or something.
Yeah. So my question was the match does not have to be from the county. It can be some collection of just local share.
Yes,
Okay. Ann?
So you mentioned different, two questions. First, does it have to be for infrastructure, that their portion, or, because you talked about housing too, so it can be infrastructure or housing?
Yeah, so you all are jutting ahead because my first question for you is on the table is housing for more money, but also placemaking and tourism. And there's kind of an economic development aspect to all of this. We were guessing from the staff level that we would like more money and to focus on housing given what the challenge is. And so my first question to you is, would you agree that we're soliciting ideas for infrastructure that support the housing development and that would be our criteria?
Yes.
And with that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your question.
And with that, yes. So the money has to go to the infrastructure. It cannot go to the housing construction, but it should be the infrastructure that is helping make that housing construction possible. And I think there are many ways you can kind of explain how the one supports the other.
Okay, and then the second question is, you're talking max 2 million for $1 million for the award, 50, with the one-to-one match would bring it up to 2 million. What if it's a $10 million project, but just they're going for the grant, or the grant's just going for 2 million? Can the project be more than 2 million? Because what's a $2 million project?
The
really?
project will be more than 2 million. It's to help fill the gap for projects that may have been stalled because of multiple reasons.
Okay, sorry, some of it's in there, yeah.
Could I just see, to give Megan a kind of a definitive sense of the body direction, could I see a show of hands for, I'll ask two questions. Housing will be the first one, and then tourism would be the second. So could I see a show of hands to target this towards housing? Okay, that's 5. There's no other hands to ask the call for the tourism component. Not that we don't love our tourism assets and we support them strongly, but I'm getting a sense from the body that housing really is a priority.
Thank you. Then my second question for you is, there is the 50% match, and there is also a 1% administrative fee that will be due at some point to Empire State Development if an application is successful and funded. And so the question is, would you, as we're pushing this out, set that expectation that the kind of owner of the infrastructure project, that actual entity be the entity that pays that 50% match and pays the administration fee, which if it were $1 million award would be $10,000.
And the other option would be the county?
Or some
Is that-
combination?
I will say we do not have that kind of account in our department, but yes, I would, if you wanted the county to pay, I would need to know where that money would come from, what account, like how we would set that up and what sort of resolution you'd be looking for.
Veronica?
how much of a difference do you think the answer would make to potential applicants? Because if it makes a big difference, I think $10,000 is not a lot of money. I don't know where it would come from, but we could figure it out. And then it sounds nice, like fee-free grant. But if it's not, if they're just gonna like crunch the numbers and it seems like a tiny part of the overall cost, because it is, and it's easier to just say, yeah, you're gonna have to tack on 1%, then maybe we don't bother finding the accounting solution.
Mike?
I figure they're already getting $1 million of state money, they can pay the fee.
Grants, they pay fees.
Is that the sense of, that we would prefer that it not involve county money, but if there was a great recommendation, we would be open to having that conversation if it was needed?
I think in terms of trying to set expectations, I can set up the solicitation maybe with that expectation that there does need to be that 50% match from whoever's proposing this project, and to let them know that there is a 1% fee, and maybe just get the ideas. And as we vet, if we get to agreement on a top project, and I think they came back with there's a serious problem, but I think, you know, if we ask anybody, most developers would say, if we can save ourselves $10,000, we'd be happy to. So I think everybody would welcome the county paying for this. So it's really hard to tell you whether that's enough to really make or break.
Ann and then Katie? Or Katie then Ann?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I feel like I often add this in here, but it's not just the $10,000, it's the staff time in my department, in legal, in finance, to make a payment like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My experience with developers with grants or abatements, they're used to paying a fee. So then we possibly could have discussions about gifting, and then there's issues about right staff time to figure out and bill and take care of this money, and what if it doesn't get paid, and all these things. So I would rather make it clean and just say I would put it on the outset, that would be my opinion, that they're responsible for also a 1% fee.
Great, so let's just kind of look around if anybody objects to the idea of keeping it a clean request, which would mean the applicant or the person expressing interest would pay the 1% and also provide the additional match, would be the responsibility of the party sort of applying for the project. Is that fair? Okay, I'm seeing 4 or 5 head nods, so. Other decision point?
No, those were the key points. So I am hoping to see you again February 5th with some great projects to propose.
Anxiously awaiting.
And I will, in the email blast, I will also forward the email to all the legislators, so that you have that available if you're talking to anybody and want to share around, because we recognize we don't know every developer that could be out there that we're not aware of that might have a project, again, with the time constraints that Katie mentioned, and that hope that if your project is not ready now, hopefully there'll be another opportunity in the future.
Great.
When can we expect the email blast?
Tonight?
Wow, all right,
You guys
that's fast.
answered in a way that made it really easy for Megan to hit send, because we had
Because it's already been written.
I took a wild guess where you might land. I drafted things that way, and so.
Did you guess right?
Yes. Katie and then Ann.
I forgot what I was going to say.
All right, then Ann.
Does this also, is this open to nonprofit developers also?
So there's no real limit on who can apply, because ultimately we are the applicant as the county. So since there's no ownership requirement on the project, as long as it's within our jurisdiction, within Tompkins County, and can meet the eligibility criteria that Empire State Development has, we should be good, whoever the developer is, any of that. And we figured we'd ask the question, at least in the very simple solicitation, to say, is there an affordability component to the housing that you are proposing, so you'd have that information as well.
Thank you.
And we also are asking the question of whether they'll be able to get a letter of support or some kind of sign off from their municipality that they have the permits and approvals they need to move forward. So it is pretty limited, the pool, I think, who would be ready to jump on this opportunity.
Sure. Okay, if no other comments or questions, we can move on to the next item. Great.
Thank you.
I think the next item on the agenda is ID 12995, Budget Adjustment, Community Development Block Grant Awards, Healthy Homes for Department of Planning and Sustainability. If I could have a mover?
Are you sure it's that one?
What?
And not the one before?
Yeah, well, you know.
I'll move either.
We're
but-
taking them out of order today, so let's go.
Okay.
Let's go with
Do
that one. Sorry.
D.
Sure.
All right, moved by Veronica, seconded by Ann. Taylor, you got the right one that we're on? Thanks, I apologize. So we'll talk about the block grant, Healthy Homes.
Sure.
Go ahead, please.
Hi. So both of these budget adjustments, if I may speak about both, they're just bringing money from last year into this year on projects that have not been funded yet. They're in schedule, but it's just something that we had to do to bring it into this year.
We often see these at the beginning of the year as procedural adjustments. Any questions on the Community Development Block Grant budget adjustment? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Next, we have budget adjustment, Community Housing Development Fund, Round 22 and Round 23 awards, Department of Planning and Sustainability, ID 12996. Moved by Ann, seconded by Veronica. Assuming the same budget adjustment. Any questions on this budget adjustment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? All right, that's unanimous.
Can I just add something? I was just doing a little math. So bear with me here. For the Community Housing Development Fund, looking at the chart that I found on your on the Planning Department's website, looks like through that program, we're able to add 143 affordable housing units last year. And since the start of 2018, 521. If my math is correct, anyway.
Yes, I will say it's a little wonky because as we have seen, it takes a long time for something to go from funding to construction. Yep. And so we're counting the units kind of in the year that they're awarded funding,
right.
The drawdown of the money for construction. So when the units come online is a little bit more scattered, but I think it's fair to say those are the units that were funded in those years, for sure.
Still quite a lot, so thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, next up on the agenda, we have a presentation from our friends at the Downtown Ithaca Alliance. Nan, if you want to come forward. Nan is the Chief Executive Officer of the DIA. Wherever you're comfortable at the table.
Back no, I'm kidding. I'll sit over here so I can
Sure.
see everybody. It's going to take me a second. If I understand, Taylor, I have to log into the Zoom and then present from there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, my apologies. I would have done that a while, but I wasn't sure where in the, in the agenda. Take me 1 second. And then Taylor, I'm able to just go ahead and share screen?
Correct. Just a reminder that your sound needs to be up.
Yep, it should be. Make sure I'm. Voila. Okay, great. Okay. See if I can move this. had. Sorry. All right, we'll just stick with that one. I think you all have it in your packets anyway. So
Perfect.
first off, thank you. I appreciate your having me here today, Greg. I'm glad we ran into each other a couple weeks ago. And welcome to the new county administrator. I look forward to getting a chance to meet you and have some further discussions. I'm going to be, we'll go through the presentation, but really just kind of also want to be able to have a conversation. I know this is the first time I'm sitting in front of you all, and there are a lot of different things going on at the DIA, but wanted to basically, and Veronica, as many of you know, is on our board. So thank you for your time, Veronica. But as she's heard me say ad nauseum, we're really trying to get back to basics at the Downtown Ithaca Alliance. So this is a great opportunity for me to just very quickly spin through what I mean when I say back to basics. And it really is, Gary Ferguson was with the organization for 24 years. I know you all know him well and have seen him, in this seat many times over the years. And Gary did an amazing job during that time. And now we're in a very different place with what the organization is looking to do, and where we have come from and graduated to, I think, is a big part of that. So what you see ahead on the screen is we're responsible for those 22 blocks within that shaded area. We are a business improvement district. These are organizations that have been created all across the country, and for those who may not be as familiar, these are areas that are legislatively mandated. Those boundaries are specifically laid out in legislation, and there is an additional tax paid by the property owners in that district to fund the work that we do. In addition to that, the city has other mechanisms through which they give us funding to assist with certain things, and then you all at the county also, thankfully, and thank you for that, provide us different funds for different services that we provide and different activities and programming that we do. So all of that work happens within those 22 blocks, but then we also obviously work in the adjacent areas as well. And as we all know, downtown, just because we drew a map doesn't mean that that's what everybody else in the world sees downtown as. So there's kind of the business improvement district piece of it, and then downtown writ large as well. But really what we are focused on is, that prior to the pandemic, because I feel like the pandemic really is a turning point in so many conversations, as it well should be. Prior to the pandemic, downtown Ithaca and Ithaca as a whole really experienced an awful lot of growth, a lot of residential growth, a lot of retail growth, new hotels. The conference center was already underway when I started in 2023. And, now we're at this point where it's like, that was amazing. And that was all very necessary work. And now we are at a different point in the work that we need to be doing. So I want to just jump back and be a little bit academic for a second. There are a bazillion studies. If anybody's ever gotten on the Urban Land Institute's webpage, you can certainly cull through a million studies about why downtowns are great and how cities should be run. But what you have really is that there has to be a vision and a plan for what we want this space to be. We really need downtown, and I think it has been for many years, been valued as the center of the region for multiple reasons, whether it's tourism, the academic center of the region, the business region, business center, the residential center in many ways. And with that, you need to have your development resources and how you're moving forward, and how we're getting to where we need to be overall. And then ultimately, there's got to be transportation. There have to be things drawing people to downtown, and you have to have a successful downtown organization to be able to support that. And I think the DIA has been that for downtown Ithaca for many, many years, and we have every intention of continuing to be that organization for the city, for the region, for the county. So what we're really looking to do, again, ad nauseum here, the back to basics piece, the bare bones minimum of what we are required to do is be cleaning, greening, and welcoming, making sure that downtown has a clean, green, and welcoming environment, right? And I'm going to flip you to another academic slide here where what we're really looking at is, it's a little unfair, a pyramid structure. I want you to think of it as a pyramid, but not as the only way to look at it, right? So you don't have to have everything perfect on the base in order, unlike a house, right? You don't have to have the foundation 100% set for safe and clean, but you better have a pretty darn good chunk of that solidified before you move up through the pyramid. So all of these things really should be seen probably more as a circle than a pyramid, but just suffice it to say that we are starting at that foundation of making sure that we are safe and clean and welcoming. And then from there, also working with our partners over at the chamber and with the county as well. We've got parking and wayfinding and looking at how all of us circulate through downtown. A lot of that effort happened also with the downtown plan with the city, which was completed and adopted this past fall, with lots of great recommendations of how to do those things as far as making sure we're walkable and enjoyable for all different levels of individuals, all different income levels, interests, et cetera. And from that, we also, I think, are often very well known for our events. I think that's how a lot of people see us. Oh, they're an events organization. And I just want to stress that those are all exceptionally important things as part of what we do. They are, however, not the only thing that we do. So we want to continue to make sure the events that we are providing are important and they are serving our community in a host of different ways, but that they are also an add to and not a subtraction from the things we do on a daily basis. And ultimately, we have to be working in conjunction with our partners, county, city, state, local, our businesses, et cetera. So, again, you're going to see me in the coming months really referring back to these two items of what we are as an organization and how these organizations function at their highest level. So again, Gary and his team and many of the board members created an exceptionally great downtown. We have a lot of good things going for us. We are almost exclusively locally owned businesses, which I think is a rarity in a downtown anymore. But local businesses are hard to run. These are your neighbors. These are people that your kids go to school with, their children. It is a hard business to be in, and we want to be supporting them as best as we can and providing a really good framework for them within which they can be successful. The events and programming are part of that. You all, and I see Nick over there. Nick and I do a lot of grant work together, so thank you to him and his team of supporters in the work that we do through the grants that you all provide to us. Everything from the Ithaca Retail Entrepreneurship Program, which was launched this past year, and we managed to get a lot of good training through, and then also a holiday pop-up shop that we worked on, as well as some other free opportunities for small businesses, particularly businesses owned by people of color and women. There are a lot of other things that we do programmatically that have been successful, and certainly through COVID, that was a very different view of what success was, and now we're having to reevaluate where do we go now with our economic development work. So I do want to just state, there's some chicken and egg. I'm not coming today with an ask. I'm not coming today with major success story of, hey, we did this for economic development within the past year. But I also want to reframe what we consider economic development. Everything that the DIA touches in some way, shape, or form is construed as economic development, right? I like to remind people that if you walk into downtown and the gutters are filled with leaves, even though that is clean waste, and you may not specifically notice it, it still leaves an impression on you that somebody isn't paying attention. And so you will see our Director of Public Space Operations, Chad Smith, running around in his bright yellow jacket like a maniac, because I'm frequently like, don't forget this. This didn't get picked up. Where's that? How's that, right? We are finally staffed to a point, and we are getting a little bit closer. Once we get into the warmer weather, we will be at our preferred capacity for our cleaning ambassadors of 7 days a week, 8 a.m. Such a good song, right? He's got us. Anyway, so 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week is our goal, to have our cleaning ambassadors out there so that we are working in tandem with the city and county crews and the town crews, but also with our property owners as well. So continue to look for more improvement in that. And if you see something that needs to be fixed, cleaned, repaired, graffiti removed, please feel free to reach out to us so we can make sure we address that. But again, also asking for a smidge of patience as we figure out what those regular cleaning efforts are. As I mentioned, we do a lot of events, as everybody knows. We also do some smaller types of events that are led by our partners. You can see on here Fairy Fest from 2024. That was something that was started by Alphabet Soup for the kiddos on a cold March Saturday, and we continue to run that and be supportive. We are looking at ways that we can step out of certain amounts of production of events, right? It shouldn't always be the DIA's responsibility to be the one producing the events. We also need to be supportive of those in our community who come forward with great ideas, and we want to be helpful and we want to be providing what they need without us having to be the originators of every event that comes through downtown. We do a lot of advertising and marketing, again, with our partners at the Chamber and Visit Ithaca, through everything from Ithaca Loves Teachers and the Conference Center Show Your Badge program, to the various guides that we put out that go to the visitor center and across the counties and throughout the state, as well as a really robust online marketing campaign series of campaigns and radios. We're going to hear a little bit more about the Conference Center in a couple of minutes from Suzanne and others. And, you know, we are continuing to look for opportunities for more development and growth. But I think it's also really important that that becomes an outgrowth of the other work that we're doing. As I mentioned, the downtown plan was completed this past fall. I think the key takeaways, and I have to admit, I'm not sure if that was presented to you all in its entirety.
It was not. We have it for a future date.
Okay, perfect. Because I do think it's really important for you all and perhaps the full legislature to see that plan. We had an enormous amount of response to the public survey. I think it was around 1,400 responses to that survey, as well as good participation in the open house and some of our very targeted stakeholder meetings. What we came away from as the key really theme of the downtown plan is that people wanted a vibrant, walkable downtown. They wanted things to do for people of all ages and of all income levels and all interests. And there's no news flash in that. That is what a downtown should be. But we were certainly happy to have that strongly, strongly supported by the community. And there are lots of, I think when we did the initial recommendations, it was in the thousands of recommendations, which we then whittled down to 145 key recommendations. So really excited to present that to you with our partners at the city who led a tremendous effort in making sure this happened. Ultimately, we're a really small staff and we have a relatively small budget, like most nonprofits, and we do not do this work without our partners, and we are certainly not successful without our partners, the county being a really key component of that work, the city obviously being the most immediate partner in that work, and the county really there with us hand in hand as well. The thing I do like to bring back to folks on a regular basis is that support does not need to be monetary support. And there are also other ways that we can be working in conjunction with one another, whether that is making sure that we are all speaking the same messages about our downtown, that we are pulling the positive forward, but also recognizing collectively and being very honest about where we need to focus our efforts toward change and growth and improvement. I will not shy away from the fact that we have a lot of things that are very important to our downtown that we need to be focused on, and it can't just be the DIA, it does need to be the city and county standing side by side with us. So you will no doubt see me back with some up and coming advocacy work that we'll be doing around that. And that's really the super speedy version. I can talk for hours more about specifics if you want, but I know you have other things you want to talk about, and I'm sure you have some questions.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Nan.
Absolutely. Thank you for allowing me the time.
Yeah, of course. Questions for Nan about the DIA downtown? Also, I will say caveat, we do have a tight agenda, and keep in mind that the downtown plan will be coming for a more robust, in-depth discussion. Mike Sigler and then Ann Koreman.
There's two questions that you may not be able to answer. Do we have like an occupancy rate of the commons? I mean, has that rebounded at all, or?
We do not have that number available yet. We have been focused on other efforts before we start to circle back around with data collection. It's something I hope to do in Q3, Q4 of this year.
I ask because, the community says it wants a walkable community, and I'm just wondering if they're supporting the businesses in that. Makes it, well, yeah, you want that, but.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's an excellent point, and it's one I made on a recent radio interview where we all love to talk about how we love small business. We need to support them with our dollars and not just our mouths. Unless you're at the bar or the restaurant, then you should be supporting them with both, but yeah.
And Koreman.
Nan, I just wanted to thank you for your report, and great to meet you. I'm not sure if we met before.
I know.
And thank you for coming, looking at the map, thank you for coming just out of downtown to come to the legislature. I know it's not that far.
It's so far. No, we're happy to hear. And again, I think that's the key piece, right? The boundaries mean one thing, and that's just who's paying for the services. Downtown writ large is a very different story, and that's something that we continue to try to hone how we distinguish that for other folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Downtown boundaries that Anne's referring to is just the business improvement district.
Correct.
Yeah, just.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Nan, you're welcome to stay at the table as I think Peggy and Suzanne, if you want to come, we can talk about the conference center. And then we can briefly touch on, Peggy and Nick, the short-term rental law implications after that. Also, I know Lisa Connerton is here as well. So Lisa, you're more than welcome to join because I'm sure we'll have some sales questions as it relates to the conference center. My hope in this conversation is that we could just take a few minutes and how are things going? What's the future look like in the year to come in 2025 and beyond? And then also, we've heard of some challenges in the area, and we know that those are being addressed. I know a number of legislators met yesterday at Asteri with the folks from Tompkins Community Action, and that was a really informative meeting. We also got to meet with some senior leadership from the Vecino Group and introduce ourselves there. So some of those issues have been kind of discussed already, but really want to focus on the conference center and its projections and where we're headed.
Thank you. I have to get myself situated here. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Susan is not going to be happy with me. Microphone here. So thank you for inviting me to join you for a quick update. My name is Suzanne Smith-Jablonski, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Downtown Ithaca Local Development Corporation, and we are the nonprofit entity that was created to be the owner of the Ithaca Downtown Conference Center. And I'm happy to have here Nan Rohrer, Peggy Coleman, and Nick Helmholtz are all members of the LDC board, and also my colleague Lisa, and I was appreciative of the invitation from Nick to be here, and so I will share just a few thoughts, and then of course invite all of my colleagues who are here involved with the Conference Center project to add on to, and all of us together can answer any questions that you may have about the project. So I believe the last time that I spoke to the full legislature, we were anxiously anticipating the end of construction and the grand opening, and it's very exciting to be here now at the beginning of 2025 to have that in the rearview mirror. So our staff occupied the building in May, and we opened for the public for events in July and had a wonderful ribbon cutting featuring so many of the folks in the community who made this project possible in August. And just again, as a reminder, because our organizational structure takes a little bit of time to get your arms around, so my organization, the LDC, is the ownership entity, and then we contract with ASM Global, which is an international venue management company with over 400 properties that they run from arenas down to our conference center. And so I work very closely with the management team of ASM Global, who provide the daily operations for the center. So in 2024, once we opened in July, as I said, after having anticipated being open in January, so there's a lot of pivoting going on, as we all do. I'm excited to say that we have held 71 events in 2024 and welcomed nearly 10,000 people through the doors for those events. So I think that's a pretty impressive set of statistics to share with you, especially given that these were happening during what is considered in what we call a ramp-up period. So simultaneous to welcoming these events and creating these positive guest experiences, our team was learning the building, implementing the systems, getting their arms around how to create menus, how to use the kitchen, all of those things that may have typically been sequential activities were happening simultaneously. So it's even more impressive that our team was able to welcome so many events with such a high number of guests in our very first 6 months of operation in the conference center. Probably our largest local event that we were happy to welcome into the conference center was the Cayuga Health Gala, which was in early September, and that was a wonderful opportunity to welcome, I think, over 500 people, supporters, and potential supporters of Cayuga Health to our downtown and our beautiful new center. Another highlight of our schedule for the past year was a Grow New York conference. This is an agricultural innovation conference where prizes were awarded and teams came from all over to present their pitches of their innovative work that they were doing, and it was a wonderful opportunity to see the center transformed by the conference hosts, and it just reminded us that we had done what we had hoped to do, which was to provide a state-of-the-art facility that is attractive and engaging, but also provides our event hosts the ability to customize it and make it their own. So that was a wonderful example of the kind of vision that we had for how that would play out in our center. And then right at the, New Year's Eve, we were able to welcome Village at Ithaca hosted a teen-focused, teen-friendly New Year's Eve event at the conference center, and it gave members of that community the opportunity to be in a venue where they might not otherwise get the chance to be at the conference center and be down in the heart of downtown in an environment that was suited to them. And so those are just a few examples of the kinds of events that we had over the past year, the past 6 months. The feedback that we've gotten from our conference and event attendees has been overwhelmingly positive. They have echoed back to us that how gorgeous the facility is, well designed. We have our wonderful AV capabilities. The food and drink are top quality, and of course, people are also very in favor of and finds compelling the fact that our conference center features the first all-electric kitchen in a conference center in the United States, and we're the first fossil fuel-free conference center in the US. And in fact, that component of our service has gotten a lot of press coverage and interest. For instance, I was featured on the Yale Climate Connections, which is a very brief spot that appears nationally on public radio stations to highlight the fact that in our community we are serving as leaders in this way and really focusing on our sustainability efforts by having a fossil fuel-free fossil fuel-free conference center. And so there's a lot of interest to look to us as a model and be able to present out to industry leaders and others who are looking to do this kind of work. So kudos to all of the folks who came before me who had the foresight to really integrate this into the goals for the conference center. Greg, as you mentioned earlier, we are a distinctive project in that we are a mixed-use building, one of certainly the only property in the ASM Global portfolio that shares its space with 181 apartments. And so with the first of those units having been occupied at the end of May, and as of the end of November, all 181 units, as we understand it, have been filled. And so a big focus of our time and our management team's time has been learning how to collaboratively work in the building and how to make sure that we are working in partnership with the property management team on site, with Vecino, with our neighboring partners to ensure that the exterior environment is everything that we want it to be for our event goers, and that on a day-to-day basis, our operations are as smooth as possible, and we're really working. Our management staff and the property management staff are in constant conversation and collaboration to work together to make that building work as seamlessly as possible. And so that has been a layer on top of the typical sort of ramp up that you would see in a conference center environment. But I feel that we believe that a lot of collaborative efforts have been made. There's been good progress around some of the ways that we can work together to preserve this wonderful asset that so many in our community have invested in. And so I think I'll leave it there and invite others from the team to add anything, or I'm also open to any questions.
Thanks. I guess, Peggy, you know, in your team, as we look towards 2025 and where we are and what's on the books, and I do first want to take just a minute. We have an ambitious agenda, and I apologize for that. We may run a little bit over, but I want to make sure everybody has due time, but also just be aware of that. So again, my apologies for the ambitious agenda for today.
Always good to mention that before I start talking. So thanks for the space to have this conversation and to provide the update. As Suzanne mentioned, we've had 71 events in the first 6 months. The pro forma, when we first were mapping this out, had forecasted 84 events in the first year. So as far as the number of events, we are ahead of pace. We still have room and opportunity to grow as far as room nights generated, but business is happening, and it's happening ahead of what we were planning. So I think that's one thing we should be celebrating. As far as the booking process, the ASM Global team, they are responsible for things, if you think of closer in events. So if you took a calendar and it just kept moving 12 months or less, that's the time where the ASM team is focusing on bookings. The CVB team, Lisa being the director of our sales team, we focus on further out events. So we are always looking 2, 3, 4, sometimes 8 years down the road, depending on what the piece of business is. And as far as the number of leads, I don't know if you want to share what we've got sent out so far.
So for 2020, I'll just share really quickly. For 2024, we also had 800 roughly room nights generated as a result of the events that were conferences that brought in folks from out of town. So in 2025, we have 5 conferences on the book. They're varied in size and throughout the year, the first one being at the end of March, beginning of April. And so we are continuing to receive RFPs. We're really starting now to get into the 2026 bids and beyond. So I'm anticipating that we are going to be in a good spot by the end of 2025. People are really starting to get the message that we've been putting out for the past few years, and it's been really successful.
Great.
I'd like to clarify that number 5. Those are leads that are generated by the CVB. Those are multi-day outside association bookings. There are additional events that are booked for 2025 that the ASM Global team has put in place and have contracted into the space.
Yes, and I did want to add that our general manager, Kathy Taylor, was hoping to be here with me as well, but she is a participant in the Leadership Tompkins program this year, and today and tomorrow are the inaugural days, and so I extend her apologies, and I know that she and I would like to come back and present again to the full legislature at some point later this year, went to that point, to be able to provide you with some more metrics and performance information.
I'll open it up for questions. Ann?
I don't expect an answer now, but just something to keep in mind. I know we don't have much time. Just going forward, will there be a way to track when we're getting more conferences where people are staying overnight, to track where they're staying for hotels versus Airbnbs or other?
All of the above.
Okay.
We have a software system called SimpleView. It's our content management system and our client relationship system. There's a lot of initials going on. So, and that is how we send the leads out to the conference center as well as to the lodging partners. And then they reply to us through that same system. So then we are able to track, once it goes to a definite, where the client is contracting, which properties they're contracting. Where we have a little bit of leakage as far as data is if somebody decides to stay in a short-term rental, we wouldn't have that information necessarily. But as far as official room blocks that are booked by the clients, we would absolutely have that tracking information.
Thank you. And I know you have very advanced software to track a lot of this, so appreciate the investment.
Mike Sigler.
I mean, 71 is terrific. I mean, that's a great number. The 5 obviously is worrisome for 2025. Is there something that the county's not doing for you that could kind of help with that? I mean, are we as a county kind of dropping the ball someplace? Not putting that on you. I'm saying, is there something we're not supplying you with, a tool or
No, 5 is actually a really great number of conferences to have on the books for 2025, given the moving target of opening date. Again, because folks are booking 18 months to 4 years out, having 5 signed contracts for those large events on the books is actually really great, because then that lays a good foundation so that the ASM Global team can fill in times where the hotels don't actually need those rooms.
Okay, no, thank you.
And thank you for asking.
No problem.
Yeah, one thing that is a line item in our budget, and I'm grateful to the STPB Budget Committee, Nick also, for recognizing the need for this. As Lisa mentioned, we had to displace at least 2 conferences that I'm aware of because of the delay in opening. We have a line in our budget that is meant to, as a way to incentivize. And so that's how the county is helping us. So if we are competing with another community where they can house everyone in one hotel and we need to house them in 4 or 5 or 6, I have a conversation with Nick and say, we'd like to use those dollars as an incentive to be able to create a shuttle system so that it levels the playing field for us and makes us more competitive. So you have already, through the work of the STPB and the staff in Nick Helmholtz, have given us the tools that we need to be able to sell this. So that example of when we had to displace folks, that line was able to help us to become a sponsor of the conference that we had to displace, keeping our good name and our community's good name intact. We helped them find another location in a short window, which is not easy. But because of that goodwill and the relationship and the trust that we've built with them, they are considering us now for future years. So I'm grateful to you asking that question. I'm grateful to the county, the STPB, and especially to Nick for having the vision to give us that flexibility to be able to do our jobs.
We also are supporting through this contribution from room tax to the CVB, the visitor experience personnel that's part of the CVB staff who serve as concierge and other support to conferences and things like that is just one more way that we're supporting those type of events. Any other questions for the folks from the conference center, from the CVB, downtown? All right, seeing none, we appreciate the time, appreciate the updates. Thank you very much. Peggy, I'm just going to keep you up here. Nick, maybe just a 1 or 2 sentence about the change in the room tax. The short-term rental law change that just took place in Albany.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And so recently, as in December, an agreement was reached in Albany, and a bill was signed to regulate short-term rentals across the state. This is going to basically shake things up for how we collect occupancy tax from Airbnb and other vacation rental, short-term rental types of outfits. I sent a memo out to members of this committee and then a wide variety of other folks that sort of outlined how we understand the process going forward. There are still some balls in the air as this is heading back to the legislature for a final vote later this month. But we're in touch with our partners at the New York Association of Counties and Hospitality and Tourism Association, who are presenting a webinar on the topic next week. We're planning to attend and take copious notes about the implementation. Short story is that if we would like to continue to collect room tax from short-term rentals, we need to make sure that we have a registration system in place that complies with this new state law. The state law will spell out the requirements for that system, and we'll be monitoring that and working forward to move forward with that. Other changes that are included in the state law are health and safety requirements for all short-term rentals. I don't have it at my fingertips, but things like the provision of a fire extinguisher, phone numbers for emergency poison control and so forth, evacuation diagram, and those are some of the important pieces. Peggy, are there other pieces that come to mind that are noteworthy?
Those are the primary portions of it. The legislation was brought through the state legislature from the Housing Committee, not from the Tourism Committee, because often, and this also excludes New York City. New York City has their own law in the books that outlaws short-term rentals within the 5 boroughs of New York City. So this applies to the rest of the state.
So good news for sales tax? Good news for life safety, registration, tax collection, and leveling the playing field with our other lodging partners throughout the county.
Yes, that's another big difference. Currently, the voluntary collection agreement that is in place with Airbnb, it's only with Airbnb. It doesn't include the rest of the short-term rental platforms, and they do not submit sales tax. So this new law will not only regulate the room tax collections, but also activate sales tax being brought into the municipalities.
That doesn't, however, mean that those that use other platforms are not self-reporting or self-submitting.
Correct. In this county, we have a number of short-term rentals who are registered with the county and are collecting and submitting voluntarily.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate that brief update. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We've got Chris Bond, who's got about a quick 10-minute presentation or less. And then we will be moving into executive session, which I know we have a number of other legislators joining us for, just to give everybody a heads up. Chris, I'll turn it over to you. I know we met in December, and then you just had some exciting things to announce here with us today.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to walk through some stuff. So give me a second. Okay. So we are actually going to start out with the Tompkins County Youth Opportunity Map. That is available through Tompkins County Workforce Development's Community Resources page. And if you're using it on a mobile device, I recommend downloading the app. I will show you all how to get there. I believe my screen is being shown. I can see the website. Okay, so you can get to our website by either going to the all departments at the top and clicking Workforce Development, or you can scroll down and go to Career Center, which is also us. Here you can find information on our department. We have contact information on the right, our address, and then our different services that we have. We have job seeker services, youth services, employer services, but I'll get back to that later. And then if you click resources, that will lead you to the Youth Opportunity Map. So the Youth Opportunity Map was created with through the Youth Employment Resource Team, which is a group that we convene. It's local providers throughout the area, and we have folks from Ithaca Youth Bureau, the Learning Web, CCE, you name it, like mostly everyone is there at the moment, and we're also continuing to expand that group. But we all serve youth, and when we talk about youth, we're considering people ages 14 to 24, and workforce aligns a lot with different kinds of areas such as housing, health, mental health, you name it. So we felt that we need to create a resource hub for our youth, so we called it the Youth Opportunity Map. And the purpose of this is, it's for the community, mainly developed for youth, but if you click on it, here it is. So far we have 908 views. We released it last month, and so we're moving along. But as you can see on the left, there's different categories. So health, mental health, job training and services, education, housing and shelter. I won't read through everything, but it has different partners that fall under that category. So I'm going to zoom into the map to get us closer. We'll just, for time's sake, we will just hang out on the commons, or mostly the city. So as you can see, there's different colors, so it's color coded. So depending on what the area is, that's what color you are. So health would be this purplish color. But you can also, if it's too many dots for you, and if you just want to find a specific area, you can just uncheck. You just go down and uncheck, and it can make the map a little clearer for you. But I will just go to housing and shelter. So you look at the left, you can see like what's out there. And basically, you click it, and then that will lead you to exactly where it is, and it gives a description of what that location does. And it has the address, and since it's on Google, if you have it on your phone, you can just click on your Google map, and it can lead you to that location. So we do find that a lot of the youth have trouble reading maps, but if you have it on their phone, they can kind of navigate that way. So that is something that we all work together. We're obviously still working on this, but we are creating QR code papers to share amongst the community. So right now, like, providers are going to spread out the cost of printing those, and they're going to be at different locations all throughout the area. Want to give special thanks to Scout Frost, our communication specialist, who was able to help push this whole project through. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to have this produced right now. Like, initially, it was just an idea that we had, but they were able to work on the descriptions, making sure we had all the right categories and everything. So that was the first thing I wanted to share. The second thing I wanted to share was just back to our website. We've been working hard on updating our website. Like I said earlier, you can find everything you need here, but we are working on photos. So we are working with Rob Henry to get some photos of participants, different work sites, and then also shooting some videos about our services that we have, about our youth program, adult program. That way people can also view that on the website, and it'll be a better way to communicate the work that we're doing. So we're on Rob's list this early winter, wherever we are right now. So we're excited about that, and he was excited. We added a calendar of events section. So right here, people can see what events are going on. Mostly these are online at the moment, but we are going to be ramping up in-person workshops, meet the employer events, different things like that. And then we are also just working on other parts. So we're working on a job board. So we are basically creating this board because we have a lot of partners that have jobs, and they need help promoting them. So we have employers submit, there's a form, and they can submit it, and we can post their job. So this is just the start of it. So Encoding with 3D, the Jewel Box, some of these you may not see a lot out there. I mean, TCAT, we hear that a lot. But at the very bottom, they could submit their job opening and fill out the form. So the dream is to make this thing big, like the Tompkins job board. Basically, there's Indeed and all these other websites where it's just like kind of very similar jobs. They may not be tailored. And a lot of times there's jobs that are out there, and you may have only heard of them because you knew Chris, or Annie knew someone, and then they applied to it. We just want to make sure that this is something that the community can know about, and it's really tailored towards us. Tompkins mainly, obviously. So that's a priority of ours. And then how am I doing on time? I feel like I'm at like 6 minutes, 7 minutes, I don't know.
You got a minute or two?
Yeah, a minute or two. So the Indeed Job Search Academy, we're partnering with Indeed. I've been in talks with them, and this is a partnership we have with them. And so it's called the Job Search Academy. We have our logo there, Tompkins Workforce New York. And this is a free resource that presents all of Indeed's job search and career exploration information. So why partner with Indeed? 96% of online U.S. job seekers use Indeed, while 57% use LinkedIn. And yeah, if you're looking for a job and you're doing it online, you're using Indeed. So really, this is meant to complement our services. It's not competitive. It's supplemental to one another. So this is something that just started this month. We're the 5th government agency in the country to be part of this network. So people can go on here, and there's 5 different sessions: job search, resume writing, interview prep, offer evaluation, and career direction. And you click here and you can watch the videos. There's different workshops here, and then there's further research. There's other webinars you can go to, recordings, and things like that. So we are hard at work at also tailoring this to our website, so it's also easy for people. And then our staff is also getting familiar with this platform. So those are the 3 main updates for you for today. Just wanted you to be aware of them.
Appreciate it, Chris. Your vision and foresight to sort of bring technology to the forefront and make it easy for job seekers within our community to be sort of the hub, the conduit, the convener of all things work, and improving life is to be commended. And I hope we get the chance to maybe individually work through some of these links on the website and explore, and would ask that you direct any questions or comments to Chris. But I'd like to think that I speak for the rest of the committee when saying that we appreciate all the hard work, because getting this up to speed was probably a big lift for you and your department.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm on it now. Very easy to navigate and find all these things. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and if you feel like something needs to be different or any suggestions, we're open to that too, because ultimately I'm not offended by any comments, because if there's a comment, it's helping our participants. So feel free to reach out to anybody. Thank you.
Appreciate it so much, Chris. Thanks. Sorry to
That's fine.
Shorten the time, but we'll spend more time in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
All right. The next item that we have, in accordance with Article 7, Section 105 of the Public Officers Law, can I have a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation? Travis moves, seconded by Veronica. All those in favor? That's unanimous. I would ask that county administration staff stay, the county attorney, legislators, and then our invited guests. If we could maybe power down for a second, and I'd ask legislators to not go far.